Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for this, the third episode of Quick 6, where I use a random generator to generate 6 games that I'm going to give very short 30-second to 1-minute reviews for. So as soon as I say, my sensible adult across the other side of the room is going to press the button on the pick random name and generate us games in pairs. So we'll review 2 games and then come back and do the same again until we've reviewed 6 games. So if you could give us the first 2 games, we have okay, so we're starting on the PlayStation 2 with Wipeout Fusion. I hope I've still got that. And I hope so. And then we're going on to PS4 with Prom XXL. So it's another relatively obscure one. So I'm going to go and wipe out or something. Wipeout Fusion is a fast, futuristic combat racing game. Whereas I fell in love with some of the earlier games in the series, I found this one a little tougher to admire. The banging techno soundtrack keeps your mind in tune with the intense speed at which the track glides beneath your customizable ship. I know there's a great game in here, and it certainly boasts an impressive myriad of play modes, but I just find, for the most part, steering the ship feels a little bit like trying to control a bar of soap careering down a water slide. This is certainly a get good kind of game, or maybe I'm just too old and I'm too used to the pedestrian speed of games like Forza. Either way, my conclusion is good game, definitely worth a look, but maybe too fast for my aging mind and senile reactions. 7. For the most part, Prom XXL is a visual novel with a vast plethora of branching paths. You play as a young hopeful a couple of weeks out from prom, with a single goal of getting one of the 8 equally disturbing yet adorable monsters to accept you as their date. The stories are crazy and there's a vast quantity of toilet humour to be found here, but the writing is for most part interesting, with many plot routes to explore, often depending upon which deviant it is you're currently courting. I feel there's decent replay value here. Playing at 2 players, a single run takes roughly an hour, but there are a ton of endings to unlock for each character. It's the sort of game I can play a couple of times, then leave for a couple of months and return to for a few more plays. Whilst maybe not for everyone, I certainly enjoy trying to convince a werewolf that the corpse I'm wearing is a desirable fashion accessory. It's hard to pin down the exact target audience for this, but if you enjoy visual novels and don't mind a bit of vulgarity on the side, definitely give this one a look. Yes, so there we have it. That's Wipeout Fusion Prom XXL. That felt like quite a decent start to this episode of Quick 6. So my sensible adult is all primed and ready to give us the next 2 games, if you could do the honours. Ooh, okay. And we now have PlayStation 1 Civ II, that's Civilization 2. I've not played that for a long time. And PS3 Rune Factory Oceans. So yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. So I will see you building a civilization somewhere. Civ II is a game I played a lot 20 years or more ago. It's been a while since I've played it, but as you can see, I must have spent a small fortune back in the day to download so many civilizations to choose from. This is a complex 4X game where you guide a civilization from 4000 BC to the space age. It was a bold improvement over its predecessor in many ways, and pretty much set the standard for turn-based strategy games of the time, and this version on the PS1 does not disappoint. With a ton of options to custom fit the game to your desire, the replayability here is rock solid. From settling your first town to becoming the ruler of a world superpower, the decisions you make become your story. Choose your approach to diplomacy, science and war, manage your cities and protect your borders as you strive for world domination. Say goodbye to Sparta and you know I'm coming for Athens next. Sid Meier's Civilization 2 for the megalomaniac in all of us, an easy 9. This game is also known as Tides of Destiny in other regions. At the start of the game, you and your childhood friend Sonia are teleported to an alternate reality where she loses her physical being and her soul is transported into your body. Thankfully, you can change her name, as cutesy pink-haired anime girl should obviously be called Goldfist. You then acquire a giant golem to wade across the sea at your command and find islands to loot for supplies as you try to get her body back before she proper does your head in. The main town is bright and vibrant, has various people and timed events in which to partake. On the islands, combat is similar to many other third-person action RPGs. There's also a creature capturing mechanic where you can trap a variety of fluffy snacks in the dungeon of your golem, or something like that. I know this got pretty heavily panned upon release. However, I really like this game. Sure, it's a departure from the more traditional Harvest Moon games, but what it does is a welcome break and an enjoyable adventure game at its heart. I'm only 6 hours into this game and I dare say it demands 10 times that to roll credits, but I'm giving this game 7.5 out of 10.
Team go first.
So there we are, that's the third and fourth game for this third episode of Quick 6. And I must say apologies for the state of Civilization 2's case. Let's just say it's been with me a long time and it's been very well loved. This was one of my favourite PlayStation 1 games back in the day. So yes, it is a little bit tatty to be honest, just the case. So yes, I've just realised as well that the random generator thus far has given us all PlayStation games 1 through 4, so that's kind of cool. But I'm hoping now that the gods of RNG, when my sensible adult presses the button, aren't just going to give us PlayStation games. But go on, let's see, what have we got last? 5th and 6th games are.
Go!
I thought that's a rule of rose for a second. Cool Borders 4 on the PS1 and Rumble Roses on the PS2. So there we go. I'll see you on the slopes. Cool Borders 4 is a snowboarding game on the PS1. When I saw this game come up on Quick 6, I was quite pleased, being mildly nostalgic for the series. What I didn't realise until booting it up was that I've never actually played number 4 before. There are several game modes here to enjoy, and the ability to customise both yourself and your board. Split screen multiplayer is also a welcome inclusion. The preset boards are relatively terrible. It took me a few runs to realise this was a key factor in me getting left behind in races. The venues are well designed for the most part and have some interesting features and shortcuts. The footage was from my first hour with the game, but I must confess I was enjoying it so much I continued to play long after unplugging the Elgato. This is certainly a worthy release in the series and still holds up fairly well once you get used to the trick controls. It may be a little hard to recommend this over some of the next generation's SSX games, but I thoroughly enjoyed my few hours with it. For those of you who keep telling me Konami only release brilliant games, what do we have here then? From 20 years ago we have Rumble Roses on the PS2, which is an all-female wrestling game. Setting aside the nostalgia glasses, this is fan service the game. Stripping away, pardon the pun, the coat of paint that no doubt sold this game, what you're left with is a mediocre wrestling game with clunky controls and some of the worst voice dubbed English that I've ever heard in my life. If this had been a WWE game, the fans would have been out with their pitchforks lining the streets. Some 20 years later it feels a little sleazy and cringe revisiting this, but if I was a 12-year-old boy I'm sure I'd still find a modicum of enjoyment here. Why this needed a sequel on the 360 a couple of years later is beyond me. I've little idea how this survived my last gaming call, but there's a decent chance it won't survive the next. Despite how the critics lauded this game, the truth is without its softcore padding it would have rightly been long forgotten. Yes, so there we are, that's the 5th and 6th game for this third episode of Quick 6. Quite an interesting way to finish, I believe. And I guess we could kind of call that the PlayStation episode because the name generator there sort of seemed to heavily favour PlayStation games this time, so I don't really know what that's about. I guess it'll all average out in the future. So that's 6 games that we'll be taking off now, and hopefully we'll be adding some more games on, and we'll go again next month. So yes, anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I've been Soup. As always, you're awesome, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. So there we are, that was the 3rd and 4th game for this 3rd episode of Mission 360. I'm in the wrong series.
Team go first.